Thanks for having us and inviting us here today. This is never a fun topic to particularly talk about, but Farron invited us to come down and do this because he's getting tired of seeing fraud in his marketplace, and we're getting frankly tired of seeing it in all of our marketplaces, but it is an ever-growing epidemic. So we like to get out as much as we can to talk about what we're seeing these days and ways to try to protect yourself. So I won't take a lot of time. I'll try to get through these slides as quickly as I can and then kind of open it up for discussion. Will that work? Okay. So we're talking about identity theft and fraud. Real quick, it's big, okay? If you look at this slide, there were 5.4 million reports to the Federal Trade Commission of fraud and $10 billion lost. Keep in mind that almost nobody reports fraud. So this number's probably 5 times higher than what's up there because most people that do lose money do not report it. Average loss is about 500, but the top 15% of people lost 10,000 or more, and we see some massive losses. So real quick, types of frauds that we see, imposter scams, and these generally come in the form of a text or an email, somebody claiming to be law enforcement or some other government entity like the IRS. Insurance and benefits might be Medicare, Medicaid kind of thing. Utility companies, we usually see those in the form of text saying, hey, your power's going to be cut off if you don't pay X number of dollars by the end of the day. We don't see so much of that anymore because that's a small fish kind of thing. PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, we see that an awful lot. You get a text from PayPal saying that you've got a charge for something that you didn't. If it's not you, give us a call, and you end up calling a fraudster. Venmo, same thing can happen. Amazon's another one that we see a lot of. Even financial institutions. You may get a text from claiming to be from First Dakota, and we saw a big surge of that this weekend. We were targeted by a group. I don't know where they were from, but they sent out a text to a bunch of people saying, hey, you've got this charge for $982 and some odd cents. If that was not you, click this link. The link infected their phones immediately. Took them to a fake website, wanted their user ID and password. Most people didn't do that, but their phone was infected. And we had people that had their digital banking compromised because of it. It's probably because they might have had the Save Me feature that automatically logs you on when you go into your app. But we were hit really hard on that. Other banks as well. I think they just target one bank at a time and they just blanket the community that they've chosen saying, hey, you've got fraud. There were non-customers of ours that called and reported it, and it's like, yeah, we were victimized by that just like y'all were. Email compromises. Business people, if you do business via email, back and forth with vendors or companies or that kind of thing, always be wary of an intrusion in the email path, okay? Because if one of the two sides' email has been compromised, you will start seeing a shift in the language, okay? And the people that compromised you are going to try to get you to send them money instead of to your vendor, whoever it is. So if you're doing emails are easily compromised. Pay very close attention and always confirm that whatever you're doing with your customer or your vendor is what you wanted to do, just in case. Tech support and customer service scams. These are pop-up scams, malicious pop-ups. We can talk about those in a little bit. Romance and relationship scams still happen. They happen to vulnerable people who have recently lost a spouse, or they've been single for years and they're looking for companionship. Grant lottery scams really come through Facebook Messenger. Friend says, hey, I've got this opportunity. I got a $150,000 grant. Do you want in on it? You're not dealing with your friend. Their friend has been, or your friend's page has been cloned, and you're dealing with a scammer, so be careful of those. Grandparent scams. How many of you had that one? Grandson, granddaughter calls, says they're in jail down in Mexico or somewhere, they're in some sort of trouble. Those are still pretty common. I will tell you, with the artificial intelligence coming online, that's going to get worse, because if they somehow talk to your daughter, granddaughter, son, grandson, get a few snippets of their voice, they can put together a script that is perfectly in their tone range. So AI is going to make our job and your job that much more difficult because the tools that they use are so much better. And that's one of the differences in fraud now between when I started in this piece of banking about 12 years ago and now. The scams are pretty much the same, but their approach and the technology they use is so much better today, it's much harder to fight. It scares me to death. Keeps me awake at night sometimes just because we don't know what's coming at us. And it comes in tsunami waves. We'll get these slow periods where the wave goes out and then all of a sudden it's like they choose your bank and hit as many people as they can to overwhelm you so that they have a greater chance of getting things done. Common fraud techniques, checks. How many of you write checks and mail them? How many of you mail them through a insecure mail receptacle? If your outgoing mail is not secured, don't mail checks from there. Take them to the post office. We're seeing a huge amount of mail theft check fraud. It only takes one check. A couple of years ago over President's Day weekend, we had a high-end neighborhood in Sioux Falls get hit hard. Thieves were moving around the neighborhood at 3:30 in the morning looking for mail, figuring that people are out of town. So they find a little piece of mail with a check in it. By Tuesday morning, checks were being presented around Sioux Falls that were perfectly in sequence and perfect matches because they can lift the signature off, create a new check, put that signature back on a counterfeit check and start passing them around. So if you're mailing checks, make sure you mail them through a secure portal. If you don't do that, you're taking risk. Because once they got your check, they have your name, your address, the bank's name, the routing number, account number, that kind of thing. So be really careful with checks. Now, if you're a business person and you mail checks, you can control your end, but you can't control your vendor's end necessarily. So if you're sending a check to purchase something, check with them periodically and keep an eye on your account, because we've had a lot of cases of checks stolen on that end, and you get a call from your vendor a month later saying, hey, we never got your check. Well, I sent it. I looked into my account and it's gone. Well, it didn't get to us. So it does happen. Checks can be a little bit dangerous that way because they wash them, which means they use a solution to pull everything off. They'll leave the signature there, then they can create a whole new check. But the number's the same, the signature's the same. You wouldn't necessarily know unless you looked at your images carefully. Counterfeits means they create new checks and write them and pass them. Alterations, we don't see too much of that these days. They're pretty easy to spot. If somebody grabs a check and they scratch a bunch of stuff out, they're pretty easy to spot. But it does happen from time to time. Person-to-person and bank-to-bank fraud, we're seeing more of that, where the scammer will get you to send money via PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle for whatever purpose, whatever the scam is. They may also use banking platforms. We'll talk about how they gain access to your computer, get you to sign into your digital banking. They'll tell you that they can't see anything while they can, and they'll do some things to set up transfers to steal your money. We see some wire fraud. If you do business via wire, be really careful. This young lady can tell you about wire fraud. When we get wire requests, we will do a call back to the sender of the wire. And if you tell us that those instructions are correct, we're going to send the wire. But what we want to challenge you, if you do business that way, is you do your call back to the person who's going to receive the wire to make sure that somewhere along the line, we talked about email breaches. They could have changed the wiring instructions, so we encourage you, if you're sending wires, to make sure you have the proper instructions as well, because we're going to call you to confirm it. If you confirm it, we send it. If you didn't confirm it on their end and it goes to the wrong place, they can be hard to come back. Okay? Cryptocurrency is getting bigger these days. If you're dealing with somebody, and it doesn't matter who they are, if they're asking you to put money in a crypto machine, you're being scammed. Okay? Because no government entity is going to try to protect your money by having you put cash in a crypto machine. All of us that are kind of in the know on that just hate crypto machines. They're just fraud machines. Very few people. There's a liquor store in Sioux Falls that I go to from time to time, and they have one in there. I said, does anybody ever use that? No. We don't like it being here because we know what they are. crypto's a fine thing if you know what you're doing, but most people don't. There's a lot of fraud in the crypto industry. People may be approached by, we've seen a recent one in the Facebook Messenger. I've had 2 victims where their friend approached them about this great investment opportunity called crypto, and you need to start investing in crypto. One lady stopped it before it got anywhere, and the other one sent over $10,000 via P2P, bank-to-bank transfer. I don't remember which platform she was using. I think it was Venmo, but she was Venmoing or Cash Apping money out, but it was going to a fraudster. When she got tired of sending money out, she said, I want to pull my investment out. That's where she realized she was in trouble, because she wasn't going to get anything out of it. Digital banking platforms, they're generally safe, but again, if you allow somebody to look at your phone or your computer and you open up digital banking, you've just opened up a pathway for them to steal money from you. And credit and debit cards, that's been going on for a long time. They use hacking and other types of methods to get credit card numbers, and they start trying to use them. Uses of stolen identity, there's a lot of reasons they steal identity, but it's mainly to steal money. They'll use your credentials to either steal it or launder it. So what we see is a lot of new account identity theft coming through our online application portal, and we've got a great team of people that watch that really closely. So they look for certain red flags, really unusual email addresses for the person. They're kind of out of the area, so why are they doing it here? The phone number doesn't match up to where they live. So then they'll get me involved, and I've got a background check tool where I can put in the social security, the name, the address, the phone number of the individual, hit go, and I can find out information about and compare it to what's being used on that application. And I oftentimes find out it was fraud. So the other thing is, you call the phone number on the application and it doesn't get picked up. It's like a Google account number. That's a dead giveaway for that. But then I'll try to find the customer themselves or the victim themselves, because they are a victim, call them up and say, hey, did you actually apply for an account here? No. Well, you're an ID theft victim. I'll send you some information and help you out there. So we see that a lot. And the reason they open those accounts, we call them funnel accounts. Okay, they open them not to put money in and save it, but they open them to funnel stolen money in and move it on through the banking system to launder it. Okay, so we're very sensitive to that. We don't catch them all. Every once in a while, we'll catch someone after the fact where money is funneled through. We still have some of it, but we freeze it. We get authorities involved. We try to unravel where the money was going. But that's why they do that. They use stolen identities to get credit cards. That's a big one. So they'll use your ID to get credit cards in your name. They'll run them up. Pretty soon you're getting collection calls because you're not paying a bill that you didn't even know you had. And that gets a little bit complicated, but you can get through those things. Open accounts at mobile carriers and other service or utilities. I'm not sure we see too much of that. Loans, we haven't seen much loan ID theft where somebody's come in and applied for a loan. I've only seen that once in my career, and that was years ago, and it wasn't a very big loan. They will file tax returns in your name. They have your ID. If you're ever notified that you're an ID theft victim, that's one of the first things you want to do as soon as you can. I understand that sometimes you can't file tax returns because you got a more complicated situation, but the sooner that you can file those, the better. Because if it gets filed in your name, you can still file your return, and you can still, of course, the IRS will always take your money if you owe it, but it'll slow down things if you're going to get a refund back, because they've got to get that taken off of you and get it opened back up so that you can file again. The other piece of that is, well, I'm not going to go into that one because we don't see too much of that anymore. Passport, insurance, or ID, again, they'll get those kind of things so that they can use them in fraud situations. Sale of information, anything that's stolen on you gets sold. If your social security number gets sold, it costs about $1 to sell it on the dark market. dark web. If they have your whole ID, there's a whole lot more money there. The more they have on you, the more money they can make, and it just passes back and forth. And ultimately, it'll in somebody's hands that will use that to try again to steal money. And then this last one's a little more difficult, synthetic ID. It's hard to get your arm wrap around what that is, but fraudsters will build synthetic IDs. So they will use my social security, they'll use your address, they'll use somebody else's date of birth, somebody else's phone number, and they apply for as many different types of accounts and loans as they can using those fake numbers, and then it creates a synthetic ID, and it's hard to track because they're using various pieces of information from a number of people. Okay, and that's the easy way for them to steal money once they get that built. It can take them 5 years plus to get a good synthetic ID built. Then they go on a rampage of borrowing money that they'll never pay back, and banks get hung on that. We've not seen too much of that. I've seen some of that in the new account opening side that we just talked about. So common ID theft techniques: scam, social engineering, and phishing. That's the texts, emails, and phone calls you get. They're trying to get information on you, or they're trying to steal money from you. Data breaches and hacks, we hear about that all the time, especially data breaches. There's big ones in the news almost on a daily basis. Hacking is where they're trying to worm into a company's systems to get as much information as possible, and that's where you'll hear of ransomware. Once they get in, they'll download files, hit the company with a ransom note and say, we're going to release all this information on your employees or your customers or whoever it is if you don't pay. Pure theft: don't leave anything in your car that's personal, okay? No purses, no wallets, no checkbooks left in the open, even anywhere in your car if it's unlocked. But if it's on the seat and it's locked, they'll break your windows. We've had that in Sioux Falls all the time. At workout facilities, they'll just go down the line because a lot of times the gals don't want to take the purse in while they're working out, so they leave it on their seat or on the floor. They just break the window, and then within hours, they've got a stolen ID from one person and they're cashing a check on another person. So it gets scary pretty quickly. Personal dumpster diving. If you put anything personal in your trash and you take it out to the alley, it's public, okay? Anybody can get in there. There's no law against that. So if you put personal information in your trash, you might get dumpster dived. We don't see a whole lot of that, but we do some. Personal betrayal, again, you don't see that very often. It's usually a close family member that starts stealing from you or gives your ID away, that kind of thing. And artificial intelligence is just making our lives miserable because they can do so much with artificial intelligence to make things look real when they're really not. How are we doing for time? We're doing okay. So what can you do? In any situation, keep a level head. I like to say stop, think. Okay? Trust your gut. If your gut's telling you this doesn't look right, stop, think, and then respond accordingly. That response might be to call your credit card company, call your bank, call your family member, call whoever it is that is in the midst of what the urgency is for the text or whatever you received. Talk it out. Talk to somebody. Call the bank. Let us know. Does this make sense? Call a friend. Call a family member. Say, I got this. Does it make sense to you? It sure doesn't to me. And then review for red flags. And we're going to take a look at this is a typical type of phishing text that you may get. Okay, we see McAfee, we see PayPal, we see Amazon. Okay, one of the things that you'll notice on those though, if it really came from Amazon, it's generally going to have an Amazon email associated with it or something like that. This one doesn't particularly have that, but here are some red flags. Incorrect information. Okay, McAfee Secure, the WFS, they don't match up. It's not the same thing. And then this 1986 phone number doesn't make sense for a company like McAfee, especially when you see that 818-660 number underneath. Those are red flags waving at you on that text. Vague references. WFS urgent / suspicious behavior has been observed on your debit card. It's pretty unusual that you'd receive a text like that. It's these, and if you look at the deal, it's talking about the renewal of a McAfee Secure subscription. So what does that have to do with urgent behavior? Urgency. This is urgent. Call ASAP. And then this other one says contact our cancellation department within 24 to 48 hours. Do it quicker, you're going to lose your money. The reason these work is because nobody wants to lose money. Okay, that's a 448 charge. I don't want that charge. I didn't order McAfee, so I'm going to respond to it. You get that text, call your bank, have them look at your account, or go online and look at your account to see if there actually was a charge. Don't respond to this because you're just going to be dealing with a scammer. Misspellings and grammar. Here's a couple of them. Authenticate. We don't use that. We might use the term validate, but we're generally not going to use authenticate. Up at the top there, does my mouse work at all? Oh, okay. Up at the top, $448.95 USD. Most American companies don't use the term USD behind the dollars and cents. Some do, but most don't. So it's a red flag. Doesn't mean it's necessarily fraudulent. If you're finding our services enjoyable is our goal, or that you're finding our services enjoyable as our goal. Again, we don't write that way. That's very unusual. But sometimes you have to just pay enough attention to realize that, oh yeah, that just doesn't make sense at all. And then at the bottom here, please feel free to reach us. They forgot the word at there. Our toll-free number dot, then at the number. It's just not right. Okay? Did I get everything here? And then just visuals, invoice. Probably not going to say that on there. The product details, and again, I don't know, they're trying to use visuals, but they don't quite fit what we're looking at. So what can you do? Educate yourself. Understand the current scams. I just tell people, go out to Google and say, common frauds and scams. You will come up with scads of articles about what's going on out there. And you can keep yourself informed about any new developments that there are. When I have somebody that gets scammed, and I call them up because they called and said, hey, I think I got scammed. I call them and say, okay, just walk me through what happened. And oh, by the way, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions because I want to understand what the scammers are doing because they do change their tactics. Okay, so I say that I don't want to humiliate you. I don't want you to put through too many paces, but I'm going to ask you a ton of questions because I want to understand. So that's how I educate myself. You can do the same thing. And then you have to know what to do if you're a victim. We're going to show you some things there. Make sure you use trusted websites, phone numbers, or contact methods. One of the biggest problems people have and get scammed for is they look for a phone number by Googling a major company. You don't have to Google the company. You go to their website. Equifax.com, Microsoft.com, Amazon.com. If you Google PayPal, you're going to get directed to a scam site. You're going to get a bad number, then you're going to be dealing with a fraudster on the other end. So don't use Google. It's a big mistake. I deal with people that have done that every week. I call them, I looked up a number for Geek Squad. How did you get it? Well, I just looked it up on the internet. Did you use Google? You got directed to a fake number. GeekSquad.com, or call the computer place. They know how to get in touch with them. So that's pretty critical these days because you want to get a good phone number. And actually, most of those companies won't even give you a phone number. They want to do business with you online. So you're probably wasting your time to do that. So if you actually do get a phone number, it's probably going to be a scammer. So what can you do? Make sure you keep an eye on all your accounts and statements. Review them when you get them. A lot of people just ignore them. And you might miss a charge here or there. Consider products and services available. Digital banking. If you're going to use digital banking, and I do, I pay all my bills online. I don't send checks. I use our bill pay service. Most of the stuff's electronic. But if there are checks, they're sent from a secure site to whoever the vendor is. I use facial recognition to sign into my phone, and I use it to sign into my digital banking and most of the apps I use because to me that's the most secure method. You can sign up for transaction alerts. The last session we did, a lady said she had heard that you should sign up for alerts for transaction as little as a penny. Because if a card gets stolen, fraudsters do attempt small charges to see if that's a hot card, and then they go from there. I personally wouldn't do that because I'd be getting alerts all the time, and I don't want that many alerts, but I have them set, but at a higher rate. If you're a business customer, they have two products that will help you in the check fraud and ACH fraud scenario. One is called Positive Pay, one's called ACH Filters Blocks. Positive Pay takes a little bit of work. If you write a lot of checks, you're going to have to upload a file. And this is for business customers. You're going to have to upload a file of every check you write. But you're going to upload the payee, you're going to upload the amount, and you're going to upload the check number. If any of those don't match when they clear, a report's going to kick out, and you're going to have to look at it and say, nope, didn't do it. Costs a little money, takes a little effort, but it only takes one bad check that you don't catch. And then if you do use it, we've had customers that look at the check number and the amount in their positive payee file, don't look at the payee and miss it. So the tools are there, and they're very handy, they're very safe, but a lot of people are hesitant because there's a little work involved. But again, you have one or two fraudulent checks, you're going to do more work trying to get that money back than you'll ever spend to use these products. Treat your card like cash. Make sure you have a secure PIN and use a PIN. Use secure terminals as much as possible. Don't swipe if you can't. If you don't have to, use that chip. It's the safest thing. There's a product called USPS Informed Delivery. If you get your mail at an insecure mailbox, I do it anyway. My mail is secure because I send it right to a P.O. box. But the USPS Informed Delivery service will send you a snapshot of every piece of mail that's coming to your mailbox every day. So if you come home and you don't see your income tax check that you're expecting today and you saw a picture of it today, you'll know it's probably stolen. Either that or the mailman just put it in the wrong place. But it's a handy tool to know what's coming. You'll know if there's no mail because you won't get any information on it. See if there's anything else we really want to do. What can you do? Protect your devices. Keep your passwords protected. Don't just have them, your usernames and passwords in a note in your phone. Don't click on suspicious links. If there's a link you don't recognize in an email, don't click on it. If it's important, somebody else will get a hold of you another way. Attachments are the same way. Don't allow anybody to watch your device. The big thing the scammers do is say, hey, I need to clean up your computer, so you need to allow me access to your computer. They'll send you a AnyDesk app or some other app. Pretty soon they're on there and they're going to mess you up. Shred. Keep documents safe and secure. Don't leave things laying out. We talked about wallets and checkbooks. Be careful on social media that you don't overshare. Don't put a lot of personal information. Avoid some of the games where they're trying to get you to say, what's your favorite color? What's this? What's that? They're getting hints on what might be your passwords when you do that. Monitor and protect your credit. You can check your credit every year from free annual credit report or annualcreditreport.com from every credit reporting agency. So you could look at one once a quarter from the different ones. Keep fraud alerts and freezes on there. We do have some information about that. I've got some on the table, and Farron brought some as well. I suggest you keep a fraud alert on at all times. They stay on there for 1 year. They tell any lender who pulls your credit report for the purpose of issuing credit, I'm an ID theft victim, do not issue credit without calling me. So if a fraudster got your ID, they apply for credit cards, credit card company sees that alert, they call you, you say, no, I did not apply, and they shut it down. They last for 1 year, so you have to remind yourself annually to put that back on there. If you do find out you're a victim of any kind of fraud, contact your local authorities, police, sheriff, depending on where you live. You can report it to the Federal Trade Commission so they have better statistics. You can go to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, especially if it was internet-related type of fraud. Contact your creditors. Don't be afraid to call us and say, hey, I made a mistake today. Here's what happened. Can you help me out? I know it can be embarrassing to do that, but it's the best way that we can figure out, okay, exactly what happened. What did you do? What did you click on? What vulnerabilities might there be? And to give you steps to try to get things taken care of. Fraud and ID theft do not discriminate. Anybody's vulnerable, 16 to 90. Doesn't matter what age group you're in, they're making attempts on you almost a daily basis. Be proactive, take action if something happens. If it doesn't look right, doesn't smell right, follow your gut. If you have any questions, again, about anything, suspicions or issues, think twice before you act. If you've fallen for fraud, let us know. Your credit card companies and all that kind of thing. And if you think you've got fraud on your card or credit card, your credit card or debit card, call the number on the back. Again, don't Google a number for City Card. Don't Google a number for First Dakota, because again, you might get our good number, you may not. So call the number on the back. What have we missed? I've been talking fast and furious.
You know, it's, you think about things and you're thinking, oh, I wouldn't fall for that. These guys are professionals. This is what they do on an everyday basis. I've had multiple people fall for this that I never thought would. And just stop, slow down. They're going to tell you, don't talk to the bank, don't talk to anybody. Call me. We're here to help you protect your money. We don't want to have anybody lose your money. And if you don't bank with First Dakota, call that your bank, you know. Just, they'll help you through it as well.
We're all here to help, but you have to be able to be honest and say, you know, because I'll talk to people and they'll tell me, that should have been a red flag. I knew better. I knew better. But sometimes in the heat of a moment, you make a mistake. And then they move to the next level and you make another mistake and another mistake. And pretty soon, you've either lost money or you've lost your ID. So if that does happen, do call, do admit it. You know, and I'll always tell you, I always have people beating themselves up. I feel so stupid. I say, don't beat yourself up. You're not the first, you won't be the last. Some of the smartest people I know have fallen for some of the most common scams, and they all tell me the same thing. I should have known better, but during the height of the thing, because they're riddling you stuff with all kinds of things, questions, instructions, we're going to do this, we can help you with this, what do you have here, where do you bank? They've got so much coming at you, you forget what they did, what you gave them, what you said, what you clicked on, and you just have to say, okay, here's what happened. If you're talking to me, I will riddle you with questions, again, not to make you rehash the whole thing or feel stupid about it, but I want to understand what happened, because that's the only way I can help you. If I understand what happened, then I know what steps I can tell you to take to protect yourself, to get your money back if it's possible, or to just, you know, learn a lesson and move forward so it doesn't happen again.
Well, let's open it up for some questions. Art?
I've been reading nationally about forged deeds are a problem, and then they use that to resell the property or to mortgage the property. Is that something you're seeing in this part of the country at all?
Seen one case recently in Sioux Falls of somebody who had a high-end lot on the market, and their deed got taken over, and the thief sold the piece of property. It did not get caught in the title work. The title company ended up wiring funds to the thief, and they were out the money. I don't think there's a lot of it that goes on, but they are of public record. You can grab them. You would think it would be harder than it is, but they do get you sometimes. I've only seen one case of it.
Do you have any idea where all these fraudsters are from? Are they from in the United States, or are they in foreign countries?
Good question. They're organized criminal elements. Sometimes they're in this country or domestic, but a lot of times they're operating from foreign countries. So when the money's gone, it's hard to track, it's hard to get it back because it's gone out of the country. Did you have another?
Yeah, I get 3 or 4 messages a week. Thank you for your order, which is things I didn't order.
Yep.
I don't click on them, but what is their goal?
Their goal is to get you to call them and Okay, so I'll just give you one typical way it happens. You call the number, they're going to offer you a refund, they're going to want to get on your device, they're going to want you to get on your digital banking, they're going to see what you have in your accounts. If you have multiple accounts, they're going to give you a refund of $500. You have $5,500 in one account, so they're going to send you a form and say, put in $500. They're on your device preparing a $5,000 transfer, and when you fill out $500 on the form, it's going to change to $5,000. They're going to point to the account they just transferred your money into and say, you just over-refunded yourself $4,500. You need to pay us that back right away. That's the kind of stuff that they're trying to get. There is an app called Norton Genie that if you load onto your device, you can take a snapshot of those, drop it in this, it's an AI model. It'll scroll through that thing and tell you whether it's legit or not.
I mean, I don't click on them at all, because
That's smart. And I know that they're fraudulent too, but I use it just to see how it works.
Thank you. Why does the local insurance company want to see myself and my mom and my dad's photo IDs in order to proceed with the application for an insurance policy?
Because they see the same types of things that we do. There is fraud in that industry as well.
So it's a legitimate, I mean,
It's a legitimate request.
and I know the people they are, but why are you asking this?
Yeah.
Legitimate to see them.
They see fraud just like we do. It's probably a different type, but yeah, they do. They just want to make sure they're dealing with the right person.
I had the circumstances you just described where they're going to offer a refund
Yep.
and they're going to transfer it to your bank account. And I entered like $200 and showed up as $20,000. And he wanted me to email back, or not email, but transfer back to him the difference. And of course, I wouldn't do it. And he threatened, he had my bank account number, on. So I ended up changing my bank account.
Yep. Now, had he done a transfer from one account to another?
No,
So he's just bluffing you?
yes. And he was threatening me.
Yeah.
I should have called the company that he represented.
Well, he wasn't representing any company. He was representing himself as a scammer or his conglomerate of thieves.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah, every time I log into a bank account or a financial account, and I punch in my password, I think to myself, is there any way that somebody can tell what I'm punching in as I do it?
There is if you've ever granted access to your phone.
I'm doing it on my smartphone.
Yeah. If you've ever had a situation where you've clicked on a malicious link, it can happen. Responded to something you shouldn't have responded to. Otherwise, no. I use facial recognition because I think that's the safest method. But two-factor is fine. But again, if your device has ever been infected, then there is some vulnerability there. I will stick around I'll stick around as long as anybody's got questions. So once you wrap up.
I don't have a question, but I do work in the police department. So I think prevention is the most important thing. So he's only getting to what, 30, 40 of us in here?
Yep.
So it's just important to go out and tell everybody you know to stay away from this.
This is their third thing this morning.
Yeah, so just go out and tell every single person in your family that you think is important and your friends not to fall for this, because prevention's key. It's always really, really hard for us to get money back after.
Yep.
And almost impossible.
I post fraud stuff on my Facebook page all the time, and I beg people to share it. And I'll get 2 out of my 900 friends to share it. It's like, why will you share some random picture or some stupid pun I put on there, but you won't share the important stuff? Because you're absolutely right. Thank you very much. But I will stick around if you have questions.
Thank you very much for taking the time today to listen to this. It's, like Crystal said, it's the best way is prevention, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.